Look, we got a lot to talk about. We have, we certainly have a lot to talk about. So, before I get into this, welcome back to my podcast, and we're going to be talking about the Eagles. Obviously, last second loss to the Washington Commanders down in Washington, and listen, a lot of things to talk about here. Jalen Hurts got hurt early, no pun intended, and hopefully this is a message to all of the Jalen Hurts haters and doubters and naysayers as to how important he actually is to this team. They try to say, oh, he can't pass the ball well, his arm isn't the strongest, this, that, and the third. But all he does is find ways to win. He's a winner. At the end of the day, you want your quarterback to win games. And now, even with all the naysayers and whatnot, as of the past couple of weeks, he's been looking like one of the best quarterbacks in football. I mean, to the point that Tom Brady was giving him kudos, I think, in the previous game, saying, yo, at certain points, he looked like he was locked in and he couldn't be stopped. So, listen, people were saying, hey, Jalen Hurts isn't the reason that Eagles are winning. It's Saquon Barkley that's putting the team on his back, and he's the reason why the Eagles are at where they're at. But last time I checked, when Jalen Hurts got knocked out of the game with that hit, Kenny Pickett came in, and it became painfully apparent that the Commanders did not respect him as a passer. They thought, hey, he can't really hurt us down the field, and they just stacked the box. And from that point on, Saquon Barkley had no room to run after averaging almost 9 yards a carry when Jalen Hurts was in the game. So you saw the drastic drop off, not just in the running game, but in certain aspects in the passing game, the inconsistency. And to be fair to Kenny Pickett, he's coming into a game where he's not prepared for this team. He's not taking all the reps with the ones. He doesn't have the timing down. He might have the timing down with Johnny Wilson. He might have had some timing down with some, maybe Gainwell and some of the other backups, but maybe Jahan Dotson at times. But he doesn't have timing with AJ Brown. A lot of those passes he's making and completing are because AJ Brown is AJ Brown, and he threw some good passes here and there. I'm not going to say that he had a terrible game, but the disparity between Kenny Pickett and Jalen Hurts was pretty big. So you look at this game and you look at how the offense started struggling after Pickett went out, and then you flip to the defense. Really had a great first half, and then had a very, very difficult time stopping Washington in the second half, despite the fact that we held the ball for 10 minutes out of the third quarter. We had to at a certain point, we had the ball for 10 minutes in the third quarter, and Washington had the ball for 19 seconds. Just to put that in perspective, that's how dominant we were on offense at stretches, even with Pickett in there. And the defense, they started struggling getting off the field. And that being said, I was listening to WIP on my way back home and hearing some of the people call in and talk about how the defense, they didn't get the stops when they needed it, and they're right, they're correct. But I will also say this: Washington is a very, very good team, and Jaden Daniels, he's not just a rookie. He's Lamar Jackson esque. He's Michael Vick esque. Excuse me. He's Randall Cunningham esque. He can just make things happen when the play breaks down. So, to a certain point, you you can put some blame on the Eagles defense. I'm not denying that, but you also have to realize that plays like that 4th and 11 play, he's making those plays because he's one of the few people that can do that, man. You can't play man coverage because as soon as the cornerback turns their back to the quarterback, Daniels has the explosiveness in his first step to take off and get you 10, 20, maybe at times 50 yards after that. So it, you have to give this Commanders team their credit, is what I'm trying to say. And don't levy an unfair amount of criticism to the Eagles defense. Yes, they need to clean up certain things, especially the dumb penalties. Now we don't know what C.J. Gardner-Johnson was saying to Commanders players to get him ejected from the game, to get two personal fouls and get kicked out of the game. But I will say this much: I find it very, very interesting how the chirping was enough to elicit a penalty, but the punch back from the Commanders player on the first penalty was not enough to elicit a flag for that guy. And even if he's taunting or chirping, this is me getting up on my soapbox. I don't have one, but this is an imaginary soapbox I'm gonna be standing up on. It's it's a man's game. Whether you're playing it on the the blacktop, whether you're playing backyard football, whether you're playing pee wee, high school, college, men talk junk to each other. Like that's part of the game. Like if your fragile little ego and little feelings are getting so hurt that you need somebody to step in for you, like a school teacher saying, "Oh no, you said that to little Johnny. You hurt his feelings. So here's the flag. Go to detention. Go to in school suspension." Like it's so childish. And I'm at the point not just for the Eagles. This is an NFL wide problem. This is an NBA wide problem for certain, and maybe not an MLB wide problem as well with the umpires, the NBA referees, and the NFL officials, where you have guys oftentimes that haven't played the game, or even if they played sports, the way that they respond to some of these the trash talk and whatnot, it makes me think that they either never played, or they were the water boy, or they just were not that good, or they had something of that nature. Because if I was the referee, I'm letting them talk. As long as you're not crossing the line talking about doing really bad things to people, and you're just like talking junk, cracking on people, talking about, yeah, listen, man. Guys like Kevin Garnett, you got to let them do what they're going to do. If you have a problem with what he's saying, stop him on the court. If you have a problem with what C.J. Gardner-Johnson's saying, catch a pass on him. That's the way you shut guys like that up. Like, why are you punishing guys for trash talking? That's part, like, we're getting too soft. Maybe this is even a society wide problem. Like, a lot of these snowflakes get all caught up in their feelings when somebody don't agree with them or says something that makes them feel bad. That's life, man. Just because that person says something about you doesn't mean that it has to affect what you're going to do. You can't control what other people do, but you can control what you do. So, me personally, as a man, if somebody's trash talking me, I don't want the ref jumping in like, "Yo, leave your ass over there, and I'm gonna handle him. I'm gonna go catch a pass, go out of bounds, get my 20 yards, and I'm gonna chirp back like, yo, you sure you ready for it?" Like, we don't need you chiming in, man. Like, you're getting more emotional than the players, and you're affecting the outcome of the games. And that was a big penalty, because the second one, they didn't even show us what he did to get knocked out the game. I mean, to get thrown out the game. But if he's not hitting anybody, he's not spitting in people's faces, he's not stomping on people's heads, a la Ndamukong Suh. Um, if he's not doing things like that, what is your issue with kicking him out the game? He's so that's my thoughts on that. But that certainly impacted us when he went out. It certainly hurt us in the back end of the secondary. And listen, you have to give Washington their credit. They were able to make the plays when they needed to. And I think they're headed to the playoffs. And I think they're a solid young team. I don't think they're a Super Bowl bound team. I don't think they're better than us or the Lions, even with the injuries, or the Green Bay Packers at this point. But I think that they're a very, very scary team for whoever plays them. They're not going to make it easy to bounce them out. And they're certainly have enough talent to be able to shock you and knock your butt out the playoffs. So they're a very good team. And I think people are forgetting that we were in control of this game for pretty much all of it, despite having a guy in Kenny Pickett who really didn't have the reps during the week. And he came in, he did a solid job. He, outside of that one pick, which was almost like a flashback of him in Pittsburgh. Outside of that, he was pretty solid for just kind of like winging it. And I think you're at 12-3 now at this point. So I think the wise thing would be to obviously see how Jalen does through concussion protocol. Make sure that he's right, and if need be, sit him out. You know, um, it's going to be very difficult to get the 1 seed after losing that game and seeing Detroit absolutely blow the doors off of Chicago. So they got a game advantage on us, and uh, if Jalen Hurts is fine for the Cowboys game, then you start him. But if there's any inkling that he's a little bit shaky or he's unsure or he's not close enough on the test to his baseline results, you leave him out and put Kenny Pickett in there and get him the reps. So now you can see exactly what he's got and where he's at, and at least give him a little bit of exposure to NFL level defenses, first team defenses for a game or two, so that if need be, he's able to step in and hit the ground running. Kind of like, I'm not saying he's Nick Foles, but that's the same luxury that Nick Foles was afforded. He was able to play the Raiders, my Raiders, excuse me, and then the New York Giants in the last 2 games of the season and really figure out, get the timing and the speed of the game down. And mind you, if you remember, he struggled mightily against those teams during our Super Bowl run, and get a chance to see what works and doesn't work, so and get something tailored to his strengths, play calling wise. So if he has to come in, he's already did his 2 weeks of hell and he's ready to hit the ground running. So overall, I'm not devastated at this loss. I'm just mildly annoyed, if anything. I'm more so intrigued about getting into the Usyk and Tyson Fury rematch and covering that. This is pretty much my take on the Eagles. You guys let me know what you think, but I think they'll be fine. But you lose your starting quarterback and you lose 3 to 4 defensive starters, and that's what can happen. So I think call out the things you need to clean up, but don't make this more than it was, man. You take the football, you bury it under the stadium, or you get home and you move on to the next game. Um, so that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to find a replay. Hopefully, Turkey Alashish drops the replay of the fight. I didn't order it, but my prediction was correct. I picked Usyk to win in the rematch, and he got it done. And so we'll see. But that's it for this episode. I'm going to start doing some pregame videos for the Eagles. So we'll be talking about the Eagles and the Cowboys coming up this week for Week 17. Cowboys just got knocked out the playoffs. So that's funny. And then I think the 49ers weak ass got knocked out of the playoffs too. So bye, Debo. Hope you enjoy the view from the couch. But yeah, that's what we'll be talking about next week. And let me know what you guys think. All right, be well. Peace.